business folks coming and saying the most important thing to me is my faith. How do I give back? How do I make a significant difference? Moving more towards alignment. This is what we're talking about, aligning our faith life and our financial life and really being good stewards to our children.
And welcome to the Faith and Finance Report, Episode 1. I'm Chris McMahon. I'm so excited you're taking this journey with us. The Faith and Finance Report is a show dedicated to helping people combine their faith life, their personal life, their financial life, and live that integrated 360-degree life, that unbundled life we talk so much about. Today, we're going to get a chance to spend a little time on financial literacy. We're excited to talk a little bit about that and get into the weeds on that a little bit. We're excited to have one of the greatest Catholic business leaders in our country, Howard Hanna, elder statesman who's done it all in real estate nationally, and he's going to talk to us about his faith and how important that is. Next, we're going to have Nick Kuhn come in our Virtuous Ventures segment. He's going to talk about his company, SetTex Technology. It's fascinating. He's going to meet with some of our prophets and talk about how they run a business, how they run it ethically and consistent with his values of faith. And lastly, we're going to have really a beautiful story of faith. We always want to have miracle stories. So our good friend, Sister Anna Stay from the Sister's Life is going to give us a story that's tremendous. I think it's going to be a great time to spend together. Thanks again for tuning in for the Faith and Finance Report. Welcome back to the Faith and Finance Report. You know, every week we try to do some financial literacy. I'm joined, as always, with Greg Dukes, Executive Vice President of Aquinas Wealth Advisors. Greg, we're talking to folks, Catholic folks, about Roth IRAs, what they are, why they're important. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Let's spend a couple minutes on that. Talk about Roth IRAs with us a little bit.
It's a great topic, and it's really one of the great benefits, Chris, that the government has given to us. They
don't give us that many.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's exactly right. That what we're able to do with this is make yearly contributions. If we have the adjusted gross income under a specific limit, we are able to make yearly contributions that are able to grow tax-free.
And get it at the end tax-free too, right?
It's exactly
unbelievable.
Right.
So we got to take advantage of this.
It's a fantastic benefit, one of the true benefits that the government gives to us.
Invest in pretty much anything we want to invest in for the most part. There's some limits, but a lot of choices there. So work with a financial advisor and hopefully a faith-aligned financial advisor. Greg, lots of people say, I made too much money. I know what the limit is. I can't remember offhand, but there's a limit. It's a little over $200,000 for a husband and wife. I make too much money.
Correct.
I can't fund a Roth IRA, but they can. There's a way they can with a backdoor Roth. Can you talk about that?
That's correct. Backdoor Roth is a great tool to be able to use.
So backdoor Roth IRA means I make too much money, which is a good problem to have. To fund the IRA, I put money in my traditional IRA and immediately switch it to a Roth IRA, completely legitimate.
That's correct.
Completely legitimate. They call it a backdoor Roth. Not a great term for it, a backdoor
Correct.
Roth.
That's exactly right.
But it's a completely legitimate term, a backdoor Roth. And even this gets a little bit deep in the woods, but it's important to talk about it for a few minutes. And I'm sure you could provide them with more information if they needed it. But there's also what's called the mega backdoor Roth for the employer. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
There's traditional IRAs, which
Yes.
we can do. There's a Roth IRA where the money goes in after tax and grows tax-free.
Correct.
If we don't, there's income limits on Roth IRAs.
Yes.
So if we hit those income limits, we can do something called a backdoor Roth.
Correct.
Where we put it in our traditional IRA and switch it the next day.
Absolutely.
However, we got to be careful because there's attribution rules that limit how much we could do in a backdoor Roth. All that goes out the window if I do it to my employer.
Correct.
And if my employer is super duper and I really want to do something, I could actually put money in what they call the mega backdoor Roth through my employer if my employer allows it.
That's 100% correct. Lastly, make sure if your children have any sort of earnings.
Yes.
There's no better
People
opportunity.
forget that all the time, don't
No
they?
better opportunity. You made $1,300 lifeguarding in the summertime. Put $1,300 into a Roth IRA for the children.
Grows tax-free.
Correct.
And incredible and comes out tax-free at the end.
Correct.
Tax-free.
Tax-free, yes.
Very, very important. Well, I think although a lot there, I think is extraordinarily important for all investors, for investors of faith, and for clients, and for everyone who's thinking about this thing. And ultimately, if they don't use those dollars, they can always put them in their will and give them to their children or maybe a charity that's important to them.
100%.
Well, thanks so much, Greg Dukes, Aquinas Wealth Advisors, Executive Vice President, for being with us. And we'll be back in a few minutes with more Faith and Finance Report.
We're back, and we are so honored to welcome probably one of the most significant Catholic business leaders in the country. And I know it's hard to hear that, but that's absolutely true. Howard Hanna. Howdy, thank you so much for being here today.
Chris, great pleasure to be with you and your audience to talk a little bit about the business world and about Catholicism and how we all work together.
And that's really what we're all about at the Faith and Finance Report. We're trying to help people along the way, whether they're starting out in the middle of their careers, if they're entrepreneurs in the corporate world, really integrate their faith life in kind of an unbundled 360-degree view. And I don't know that I'm sure I couldn't think of anybody who's done a better job at than you have. When I think about the Mount Rushmore, I know. When I think about the Mount Rushmore Catholic business leaders, what they've done, what they've accomplished, and how they continue to do with humility and serving God, just greatly honored. Holly, let's go back not all the way in the beginning, but Maiden to the beginning. I think when do I understand it correctly, you became a licensed real estate agent in college in your family's one location business.
Well, actually, I was still in high school. I was a senior at Central Catholic High School. What a story! And my father and mother were in the business, and so I got my real estate license when I was actually May of my senior year before I graduated. And I did not plan on working at the real estate company. I planned getting ready to go to John Carroll University in Cleveland. And that summer, I had a job opportunity in the J&L steel plant in Hazelwood section of Pittsburgh, which is, I'll come back to that in a second. But I had, during the summers before that, I would work with a company, putting up signs, doing painting work, things like that. Yeah. So, and one of my dad's competitors was a guy that I knew from the street, Joe Ross. And Joe said, I heard you got your real estate license, and that's great, but your dad tells me you're going to be working at the J&L steel plant. He said, there's no future in steel. It's a hard surface metal for the people who it used to be made in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, a place like that.
Nice.
But
not anymore.
Not anymore. And so he said, you should start real estate. You'll make more money in the steel plant, but you're not going to learn anything for the future. So that was the impetus for me to come.
It turned out okay.
It turned out
okay. As I think about it, and that office, was that on Shady Avenue?
That was on a corner of Craig and Baird in Pittsburgh. It's now called on the Oakland campus of the University of Pittsburgh. It's now called Howard Hanna Way after my dad. So
beautiful. Under 10 employees at one time in that office?
Oh yeah. It was. I think we had 4 or 5 or 6, maybe.
And the thing I always remember is so many of my friends over the years have worked in many of your offices, and they would always say the same thing about you and your family, because it is a family business. Is that true? They would say that Hadi and his family treat you like family. And I remember one of my dear friends, Barbara, telling me very clearly, he would come, meaning you, would come to the office and know everyone's name. Now, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you did it then. I just think it's such a tribute to the kind of people you are, the quality organization you've run. These people have been with you for decades. And I know for a fact, daughters and mothers, generationally, I think probably granddaughters at some point.
Their own businesses, but then families,
the amount of wealth, the amount of, I think about the amount of colleges that have been funded, American Dream homes that have been purchased for people that have worked in your enterprise, advancing really God's kingdom on earth in a big way. I know it's a big question, but how do you frame that? What drives this? What has driven this?
Well, I would say my mother primarily, who raised us in the Catholic faith.
Yes.
And both my sisters and I have been co-leaders of this thing. And we all went to Catholic grade school with the Mercy nuns. We had Christian brothers, and she had Central Catholic, and my sisters went to another Mercy school. Yes. And they went to Georgia Court. So they had 3 generations of Mercy nuns, and I had great Mercy nuns, and then I had Christian brothers and then Jesuits for college. And I think that whole, we talk about family, but part of that family concept was built upon our religious beliefs. I truly believe it. I don't think, we don't do it because we don't talk about the family business just because it sounds nice. It's truly, as somebody said, we treat everybody in the business like family.
Yes.
And I think that has a lot to do with our religious background and deep faith of Catholicism that has helped build those dramatic.
I mean, I think the core of your businesses from an outsider looking at is the dignity which you treat all the people in your businesses. I've seen people that are like you were that one summer installing signs, but you treat with the same dignity as the people in the C-suite. And
that dignity, when you think about, I think it's a big important word that I think is forgotten about, but But when Jesus in his 3 years, he treated everybody with dignity. The worst of the worst, the best of the best, the wealthy of the wealthiest. He treated everybody with that kind of a dignity. And I'm not sure that's I'm not sure it's carried out in a lot of business models and a lot of other models today of treating everybody with respect. With the kind of respect and dignity that everybody can be part and parcel of successful.
As people are watching, they're thinking to themselves, I'm maybe not a leadership position. I might not be in a C-suite position. What steps can I take to live my faith in my business life? Well, I know that you work with people of all faiths, of course, but how do you still say true to our faith and at the same time be, really be attracting other folks?
I would say, going back to treating everybody with respect and dignity, treating everybody, whether they're Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, with what the Ten Commandments tell us to do, with the Ten Commandments, because that's a grounding point for everybody, whether you're a Christian or not, that's a grounding point for everybody. And I think if you run your business that way, I think others will follow and be attracted by it, and we're not afraid to say that we're Catholics and we strong belief in the Catholic religion and Catholic faith, and that's a driving force within what we do every day.
I think we're going to put up the 30-second clock, and we're going to have our 30-second lightning round.
This could be the tough part of this.
This will be tough, pretty grueling. So we have the clock running, and we'll see it, but we'll start, and we're ready. So one metric you look for in your life every day.
I look waking up every morning and thanking Lord Jesus for what he's given me, and we woke up another day.
Beautiful. What's your favorite pizza place? Where you eat your best slice of pizza? Oh, no, that question.
Well, I'd say Minio's, but people from Betos and from
All right, so we'll let it pass on that one. How about your Catholic hero? Who's a Catholic hero for you?
Oh, there's a lot of Catholic heroes. I mean, I would say Bishop Zubik. He just retired. He's great. I could say name so many people.
And what about one rule for working with family? One rule for workless family.
And working with family is everybody's got to have their own place, and they can't be all answering to one another. Siblings answering to siblings is a tough deal. So you got to build the organization big enough, frankly. If you want a family in the business, you have to build it big enough that everybody can have their own thing and not be second guessed.
Howard Hanna, leader, as I said, Mount Rushmore of Catholic. I pray that God continues to bless you, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. Great to be here. Great to be with you, audience.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Faith and Finance Report, and we are talking Virtuous Ventures, and couldn't be more pleased with the panel of faith-filled private equity and venture and early round experts we had today. Really, couldn't be happier about it. Bob Bashaw, Bob, you've been an attorney counseling people all over the world. You run a company that was president of a company that was 30,000 employees. You've done more deals than anybody I know. Shore German Kelly today. Thank you for being here, and thanks for being part of the panel.
Thank you, Chris.
So great to be with you. Zach Slayback. Zach, you've been around the block here at 1517 Fund. You're known around the country and around the world as a leader in private equity, also a man of faith. So thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of the panel.
Thank you, Chris.
And last but certainly not least, Franco Carpellotti. Franco's a wonderful person, an incredibly accomplished guy, does lots of venture, lots of early stage investing. 165 Global is your organization. Whenever I talk to people, they always say to me, Franco is both an extremely nice guy and knows so much about early stage investing, which is a good compliment. I didn't say that, but I've heard people say it. Hey, if someone's such a wonderful, and we're so honored to have one of my dear friends, Nick Kuhn, with us today. Nick is the president of SEDEX. I always want to pronounce it correctly. It's SEDEX. SEDEX is an amazing organization. I think it's been kind of out there for a number of years. It was interesting earlier. Zach had mentioned he had seen the company in its earliest iteration 10 years ago, which is fascinating. Nick, I knew you as a man of faith. I always said if I wrote the book about Nick Kuhn, and no one's asked me to write that, the first 2 chapters would be about your faith and your family. It wouldn't be about your business career. But I know you've had an illustrious business career, taken many companies to great heights and many exits. But SEDEX is really exciting. Can you give us the 2 minutes on SEDEX, please?
So SEDEX Technologies is a company that was originally founded to develop products that essentially are based on how geckos can climb walls. So we use the same technology that's built into a gecko's toe pads. SetX is based on setae, which is what those little hairs on a gecko's toe pads. So what we've done is essentially converted, biomimic that into making a product that has this unique ability to grip the skin.
Nick, this company, you've been out there for a while. I know you've been leading in a lot of ways. Tell us a little bit about your trajectory so far, what rounds you've done, where where the company will be in the next 5 years. What do you think? Give us a little bit of feel for that for our viewers that are so interested.
So SetX was originally an advanced materials company. So we had both B2B customers and we also had launched a consumer products company. And we decided at one point that we needed to split the company in two, and we sold off the industrial side. So that was the genesis of the company. But we then subsequently took that and built this consumer products company, which is now growing great guns in the area of eyewear and consumer electronics.
It's very exciting, Nick. I know these guys have a bunch of questions for you. Franco, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, looking through your deck, you've had a lot of growth recently. Launched into Walmart, you have 400,000 customers on Amazon in the last 18 months, which is very impressive. Just out of curiosity, are you able to track how many of those are repeat customers, and then how much of that is organic versus ad-based driven purchases?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, we have a 75% repurchase rate for our products that are in a larger quantity category. So amazing customer retention, amazing repurchase rate. Our organic rate is about 40 to 50%, and the rest is ad driven.
Nick, I can't keep these earbuds in my ears. This solves that problem, right? It solves a million problems, but that's one of them, isn't it? I'm thinking,
Yeah, so that's one of our products.
that's a real problem. I'm not kidding. It's
One of our products is a product for Apple AirPods. Essentially keeps the AirPods in your ears. Our most successful product is actually nose pads for eyeglasses, and that represents about 90% of our sales. Actually, we solve the problem. Every person who wears glasses and pushes them up on their nose, we solve that problem for them, which in and of itself is about a $13 billion opportunity. There's about 1 billion iFrames out there that could use our technology.
Nick, at Virtuous Ventures, we're excited about helping people of faith, leaders like yourself, you get some exposure to their company, learn about their company, but also solving real problems. So often we see people are solving problems that don't exist. These are very practical problems. I had a pair of eyeglasses fall off my face one time into the sink, and they were ruined forever. So I think this is interesting. Zach, what were you going to ask about now?
I was going to say, I think it's very cool. As Chris mentioned, I actually saw your company years ago when you were originally just a material sciences company. And it's very interesting to see a company go from a material sciences company and industrial applications company to consumer product company. You have over an $8 million run rate at this point, a deep IP portfolio. Can you tell us a little bit more about the science behind the technology, what your IP portfolio looks like?
So our IP portfolio is really, you get split into two categories. One is the design of our microstructures, which are like little mushrooms, and there's a specific relationship between the stem shape and the surface of the mushroom. So there's actually a lot of technology built into that. And the second part of our portfolio is around how we manufacture these products. So they're injection molded. We surface the inside of the tool to create essentially the negative for these little mushrooms, which are about 100 microns in size. That's a tenth of a millimeter. You can't see it with the naked eye.
Well, Bob, what were you?
Sure, Nick. My question really relates to growth. When you think about growth in the next, 5 to 10 years, where do you think that's going to go from a percentage? And what type of capital do you need to grow to the aspirational heights that you're focusing on?
So we're exploring right now whether we want to do a growth equity round in the range of probably 1 to 5 million. And the purpose of that money would be strictly to build awareness. So the fact of the matter is the product we sell, most people don't think about it, don't know about it. And so one of our big challenges to essentially take advantage of this huge opportunity is to just make this something that everybody is aware of, that if you have a problem with your glasses slipping on your face, you can buy a product that solves that problem.
Nick, it's a great success story for this region. It's a great success story for the country. I know, though, as a man of faith, when you're running this company, our viewers are always interested to understand this. You're running in the secular world. You have many investors from all over the world. You mentioned that. How has your faith impacted decision-making related to running the company, raising capital, decisions with employees? Can you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, so one of the things, we're very proud of being made in the USA. We make our products right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have a great jobs that we offer folks. We essentially look to hire a range of different types of people. We pay them a good hourly rate. We have full benefits, and we look for people that are going to fit in with our culture. So, for example, we recently hired somebody who had trouble getting a job because they had been in jail for a while. So we took a risk on them, and they've become one of our better employees. And we also on this level. Sorry, go ahead, Blake. We are also just hiring somebody who is here from Africa and came essentially from Nigeria, and they have some daughters that were at risk of mutilation, some persecution, mutilation that is part of their culture. And actually, that person is just starting to work for us. So anyways, we look for people like that who we can do something special for them in their lives.
That's beautiful. I know there's the persecution, of course, in Nigeria as well as Catholics and people of faith. Christians particularly persecuted. Maybe, Franco, you want to ask a question of Beck, I think.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of following up with that. I loved it. It's not so much a question as a comment, but I love that you're approaching it where, I mean, you see so many things where it's like, we're building a Catholic this for what business that is Catholic. And I love that you're building a business that is a business, but you're staying true to your Catholic faith. I think it's a huge opportunity to evangelize. And I love that you're obviously wearing your faith on your sleeve, and it's rolling over into your day-to-day business with some of the stories you just told there. So I love that part of it.
It's exciting. Exactly. Yeah. Any thoughts for Nick?
Nick, you have lots of professional success. You're very experienced. Why are you working on this company at this point in your career?
I'm working on this company because I want to take a company all the way to the end and generate success for our investors and for our employees. So that's the primary reason. I feel like we have a unique culture, and we are something that we can continue to build here in the United States, keep growing a business in the U.S. that's essentially made here, made in the USA. We're essentially, all our competitors are from overseas, so we're very proud of that fact. So that's really the main drive.
It's an American story, and it's not a kind of story in America. It's a valued employee story too.
Yeah, it's a technology story. We come out of a leading American university. It's a perfect example of the kinds of things we can do in this country to launch new companies and keep all the manufacturing here.
That's wonderful. Bob, if you were to, I know you know Nick well, but if you were to give advice to anybody at this stage, a mature company with a great upside, $40 billion potential market, what would you give Nick as something to take with him to back to his boardroom?
Dream big. I was with the materials companies, for a long time. And what's so neat about the business that you have in my mind is the adjacencies are just wide open. Coming from a product adjacency point of view, from an M&A point of view, there's probably a million ways for you to grow. And so the bigger you dream, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So pretty fun to watch.
Nick, if our viewers want to learn more about SetTech, where do they go? Is it settech.com, or where's the website?
setextechnologies.com. And you can also go to our consumer site, which is setexscript.com.
And we can find you on Amazon. You said
find us on Amazon. Yep. We have close to 500,000 customers so far on Amazon. And you can also find us in your local Walmart.
Wonderful. Yeah. So Nick, we appreciate you being with us. We're excited, and we're going to keep our eye on SetTech to see where you guys end up. We're praying for your success. We're praying for your continued blessings from God and profits. Thank you for being here. Thank you for expertise. And God bless you.
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity.
And we'll be right back. I always say that I never let the facts interrupt me telling a good story. And I know you are much more factual in your story, which I think makes it significantly more important. Can we talk a little bit about that day in New York City and what was going on? And I remember, if memory serves, it was actually your feast day. Is that correct?
It was my feast day, Chris, which for a sister, it is. It's a big day. A lot of times you're getting special graces from the Lord. And so basically I was walking 51st Street and I walked past a man who was very tall. And as I walked past, I kind of got the sense a great darkness actually confronted my heart. And I could tell, looking in his eyes, something was a little off. And sure enough, as I passed him, I started to hear this voice, which all I can say came from the pits of hell, honestly. I'm like, Jesus, like a huge peace came over me as I just called upon the name of Jesus. And I'm like, Lord, what are we going to do? He's speaking some pretty dark words. And basically, I turned, and this is how the Spirit led me. I turned, I looked this man right in the eye, and I simply spoke the words that the Lord inspired at that moment, which were, peace, brother. And again, peace, these are words of the resurrection. These are words that Christ spoke to his own disciples.
That's the first thing he said when he saw them again, right?
Amen, right?
All right.
So they were terrified.
Good
They're
words.
like, what just happened, right? And Jesus is like, peace, like I've risen, I'm here. And brother, this was as personally as I could address this person who I knew was afflicted with something dark. And Chris, I did not expect what happened next. I just spoke the words of Jesus, and he fell to the ground, covered himself. He's like, sister, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. He's like, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. All to say, like, this was something out of the gospel. But basically what the Lord drew to my attention, he's like, this is the grace of your baptism. And as you rest and sit and abide in the grace that you have as my beloved daughter, you as his beloved son, it's like you live in a grace and a strength, the presence of mind to pause and to turn, to look up to the Lord and pull that grace down from heaven that the Lord is so eager to give to us.
So we did it. It's our first episode of the Faith and Finance Report. I hope you found it helpful. We're looking forward to being with you next time. We'll have more stories of hope, more stories of Catholics in their businesses, and more business to look at. See you next time on the Faith and Finance Report.